News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Go! Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
And we welcome you to the show on a surprisingly sunny Saturday morning. I know as we were looking ahead, we thought this weekend was just going to be full of showers and snow, and boy, it turned out to be anything but.
I expected cloudy this morning when I got up. It's like, wow, that's like there's blue sky. This is like amazing. Little rain last night. Aggies win last night. Doesn't get any better than that.
It? You know, as I was watching the game and the thunder was rolling through, I thought, yep, this is perfect.
This is just it.
Aggies are rolling, and it was a great night, wasn't it?
Yeah, first win in what, two
decades. yeah, and some of us still remember that first one.
I remember the last time we won. It was Stu Morrill and Desmond Pinniger.
Yep.
And Tony Brown, wasn't Tony Brown playing still?
Yeah. And I remember because I'm going to date myself. I was working for the station back then and running the game, and thought this is just so exciting. Yeah. And wow, it's been a long time, and what a night! What a way to start.
As I recall, we were not expected to even play with Ohio State, and we almost pulled it off.
Yeah.
So we'll see how things go tomorrow.
Yeah,
so.
Tomorrow against Purdue. So, but we are actually coming to you live from the Home and Garden Show at the Eccles Ice Arena, and it's just, if you have not been down here before for the show, you've got to come down today. It is incredible. Everything for your home, your garden, for the kids, for families, for your own personal health, and a lot of food. It's all going on this weekend, and the doors will open at 9 o'clock this morning, continue through the day, and a great time to just come down and enjoy it. Tickets are only $2. Kids 12 and under get in for free. Over 100 vendors are here, and of course we are here with the title sponsor of the show, Anderson Seed and Garden.
The arena is full.
It is
it's
packed.
Absolutely full, and there's tons of things to do. There's lots of vendors to interact with. Of course, our booth here at Anderson's is the most colorful, and I have to admit, it smells the best too.
It really does. The pansies are just off to the side of us.
You can smell all the flowers. It's funny. Yeah. We had so many people come through yesterday, and they're like, "Can I just stand over here, because it smells so good."
It really does. It does. And so we hope you come down and join us for the Home and Garden Show. But we are going to be talking about all things lawn and garden today. We can take your calls. We have Dallin, our call screener, who is in studio with us today, and he is going to relay your calls out to us here at the Home and Garden Show so that we can take those calls for you, because boy, a lot of questions. I've had more texts from people in my neighborhood this weekend, over this past week, talking about vole damage than I have ever had. and it just seems like voles, it's almost like they just, kind of picked and choose and said, okay, we're going to hit that yard this year, and we're going to skip the next neighbors, and then we're going to hit the next one. Because as I walk around my neighborhood, I see, yep, they got it, and nope, they didn't, but they did. And oh yeah, one neighbor in particular had just laid brand new sod last fall.
Yeah.
And it's almost like the voles were just watching, saying, okay, yep, put it right there. Okay. As soon as it snowed, they came in and they just had a party.
That's kind of what happens is they will get underneath the snow, and there's that nice little air pocket between the soil and the snow where the grass is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't get your lawn mowed really close in the fall, there's a bigger pocket there, and the voles will just have a party out there all winter long. And what I usually tell people is, like, if you have 2 voles in your yard in November, you'll have 200 in March, because they multiply every month. and so it happens really quickly. And this week, you're right. I've had probably 15 or 20 people that I've spoken to personally at the store on how to fix it. And it really is, it's fairly easy to fix the damage. You just want to prevent it so you don't have to deal with the damage again. And so what we'll recommend is where they've kind of trenched the soil and worn the grass down, and also where they've kind of nested for the winter time. You want to just put a little bit of topsoil in there. And we've got some really nice topsoil mixes that are light and fluffy. They come in 1 cubic foot bags, 1.5 cubic foot bags. And you can just spread that topsoil out. It's really easy to move that around with a wheelbarrow, get it where you need it. Spread that out, rake it lightly, just kind of even it up with your existing soil line. And then really we're almost warm enough for the grass seed to start germinating.
Mm-hmm.
And so probably the next week or two, we'll have Doug from Agronotech on. We'll be talking grass seed because it'll be warm enough for that seed to germinate. But usually we recommend wait until you see leaves popping out on the trees. When you start to see those leaves kind of popping on the willows, that's an indication that the soil's warm enough that grass seed is going to start to germinate. And that's a great time to get that seed out there. Maybe rake it in just lightly. There's some really great options for grasses that will blend in well with what you've got already. If you're not sure what kind of grass you've got, you can always bring us a sample. Cut a little piece of the grass out when it really starts to green up, so I can see what kind of grass it is. Maybe a 4x4 inch square. Just bring it in, and I can look at it, identify what grasses you've got, get a grass mix that will blend in really well with it. But we found that if you've had your grass for 20 years or more, the new grass is going to look better.
Yeah.
It's just greener and nicer. And so we can match it up really close. But sometimes after we have a homeowner come in and we've given them this new grass, they've got it growing, they have green streaks through their lawn because it's such a darker green grass, and it doesn't need as much water to look good. And then they want to do their whole lawn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. and we've talked about that in the past. You look at, everything else in your house, your refrigerator, your water heater, all of these major appliances, we just kind of expect to replace them after 10 to 15 years.
Or even 20.
Yeah, or 20. And that's one of the things that we looked at with our yard is that, hey, we had this grass in our yard the whole time we've lived there.
Yeah.
And I imagine that the previous homeowner that built the house was the same way. And so, if you haven't reseeded and incorporated new grass in, boy, it's really time. So in some ways, you could almost thank those voles for what they did. I know that's hard to do when they're so ugly.
Yeah, get some new grass in there. Because you think about it, like when we were growing up, Will, the refrigerators were just like plain. You'd open the door up. You're lucky if you had a freezer on top,
Even a light bulb.
Yeah. And now the freezer will tell you what's inside of it and when it's going to expire. You can hook it up to your wireless system. And there's improvements in technology all around us compared to what we were dealing with 20 years ago. But there's also improvements in technology in grass that we don't even think about. And so a lot of these newer varieties just are insect resistant and disease resistant, and they green up earlier, and they don't need as much water. And it's so inexpensive to replace sections of your turf when we're talking 2 or 3 cents a square foot for the cost of grass seed and a little bit of labor, compared to tearing your grass out and landscaping. We're talking, for 1,000 square feet, you're going to spend $30 for grass seed. For 1,000 square feet of landscaping, you're going to spend $3,000. By the time you're done putting that many plants in. So it's very cost conscious to do turf. It can be very water conscious to do the right kind of turf that doesn't need a whole lot of water, but that turf is going to create oxygen. It's going to filter dust and particles out of the air. It's going to collect water. It's going to collect runoff, and there's really a lot of benefits to planting turf, the right kind of turf.
And we've talked about too. Also, it keeps the temperature around your property much cooler.
Yeah.
If you pull out all of your turf and put in, rock or other things, my sister lives down in New Mexico where they don't have the option to be able to put in some grasses. And Oh, you go out into their backyard and it feels like a sauna.
Oh, it's just hot.
Yeah.
It's just hot. The trees and the grass and the landscape plants we put into your yard really do help with the cooling effect, especially larger trees, producing oxygen, absorbing some of that moisture. When we get big rainstorms, it pulls that moisture down into the soil instead of it just running off and going somewhere else. And so there's some really great benefits to that.
Okay. All right. So we can take more of your calls. We can talk more about ways to be able to improve your lawn. If you did suffer some vole damage, we can talk about gardens because, before we got the rain last night, I mean, it was looking close like we might be able to get the garden rototilled, and now we might have to wait a couple more days.
So Thursday night, I went home, tilled the other half of my garden that I hadn't tilled already, got my peas planted.
Nice.
My onions are hydrating, so I like to take my onion plants home, and I'll put them in 2 inches of water or root stimulator, like kangaroo roots, and let them hydrate for 24 to 48 hours before I get them planted. So I have my fingers crossed that we won't get too much storm later today, so I can still get out there tonight and put my onions in. So I'm excited about that. But I did get a bunch of my peas planted, and it's exciting to be able to plant this early after last year when I planted my peas, I think on the 10th of May.
Yeah. Yeah. So we can definitely talk about gardening, and perhaps let's talk a little bit about what you brought to the show as well.
Absolutely.
Because, not only do you have the pansies, looks like also you've got some primroses over there as well.
Yes.
But this is a great time to plant. I know we were over at the store last Saturday, grabbed some primroses and fertilizer and started getting that out into the yard. And a lot of things that you can plant now. And I noticed we had bought last fall a new apricot tree and a new peach tree because we had lost those last year. And, the bare root sale that we talk about, you can save $50 to $60 right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we just received our last shipment of trees yesterday. So we've got basically all of our fruit trees are in stock. So all the different peaches, apricots, nectarines, plums. I've got some combo fruits. We've got some nut trees, and then all the small fruits as well. We've got raspberries, strawberries, blueberries. The only thing we don't have in yet are grapes, and the grapes will be in next week. So they shipped from New York on Monday, and so they should be here Monday or Tuesday. And asparagus will show up the first part of the week as well too. But all the bare root plants are in. So we've got onion plants, and we've even got currants and gooseberries, and got some fall gold raspberries that are really tasty if you want to try something different. But all those fruit trees are here. So we've got Honeycrisp and Fuji, and I've got some new pears that are more fire blight resistant, like Harrow's Delight and Seckle. So lots and lots of different options. I know my crew came in early this morning. I think they started at 7 o'clock, and they were trying to get some of those trees organized still. So some might not be available first thing this morning because they just came in yesterday.
Open,
they just came in yesterday afternoon, and they're trying to get them tagged and organized so that they're, accessible for our customers to take. But basically everything's here, which is really nice because sometimes it's the 1st of April before that last shipment of trees shows up. So it's a great time. A lot of flowering trees are in stock as well too. So all of our flowering trees have shown up, and got a few that are just kind of starting to bloom, but most of them are still pretty dormant. And that's the great thing about the bare root sale is you're getting those trees, those plants while they're dormant. You can get them planted, get a little bit of cool, wet weather. They get established perfectly, and then they just leaf out when everyone else in your yard leaves out. That's been there, for years and years. So bare root sale going on right now at Anderson Seed and Garden. But here at the Home and Garden Show, we brought pansies out. Everything we've got in our booth here at the show today, you can plant outside. So we've got some gorgeous helleborus that are in full bloom that just look amazing. And if you're not familiar with the helleborus, they are evergreen, and they will come back year after year. They bloom basically as soon as the snow melts in the springtime. So it's a great companion to have with some of your early spring bulbs, like your crocus and maybe your hyacinths that are popping up and starting to bloom right now. And once those helleborus start to bloom, the flowers last a long time. So they don't just like fade after a couple days. You'll actually get a month or even 6 weeks out of those flowers because they're a little bit more resilient, since they're traditionally coming up around, the time the snow melts. Those flowers are a little more durable than some of the other flowers. Like if we get some hot weather after your daffodils come up, they're good for like 5 days, maybe a week, and then the blossoms are like gone. The Helleborus flowers are much more durable, and so you can get them to bloom and last for a month or 6 weeks just because of the duration of the flowers. So they look amazing right now. And then after they're done blooming, you just trim the flowers down, and then they're just leafy and green all summer long. And they like kind of shady locations, and so we'll try and put them in a spot where it's a little bit more shady, like shaded by a tree instead of like a building, so that early on in the spring, the snow will melt really fast because there's no leaves on the trees. Snow melts, and then Helleborus pop up, and then when the leaves come out on the trees, then they're shaded for the rest of the year, and that works great. We've got some gorgeous shrubs. I've got some nice boxwoods, some mugo pines, but then all the flowers. So we've got pansies, we've got English daisies, we've got a few perennial flowers, we've got the primrose, and a lot of succulents as well too. So we've got some really cute stuff in our booth right now, and of course we've got a little section kind of segmented off with the giant pumpkin growers.
Yeah.
So,
now I know you were planning on trying to have them come in and talk a little bit about.
Unfortunately, they have a big conference going on in Salt Lake this weekend, so we could not get one of the growers to come to the show and be here to visit. But we've got a really cool video going that shows like the pumpkin festival from last year. We've got a jar that is pumpkin shaped that has pumpkin seeds inside of it, and if you can guess how many pumpkin seeds are in there. We've got some great prizes for some of our winners. We've got some gift cards for dinner at Cafe Sabor, and dessert at the Bluebird afterwards for our winner on guessing the pumpkin seeds. But we've got some posters up, and we've got some information where you can sign up for the Growers Association if you want to be a part of the Utah Giant Pumpkin Growers. And if you join their association, they'll send you free seeds to get started. And they're not just run-of-the-mill pumpkin seeds. They're like pumpkin seeds that have come from a 2,000-pound winner, or I actually got some seeds from
genetically selected.
I got some of the seeds from last year's winner on Center Street when we crowned our Center Street Giant. I got some seeds from Jay Richard, who was the winner last year, and his pumpkin was almost 1,800 pounds. And so it's interesting how they preserve those genetics, and then they'll cross the pumpkins. And so I've got a couple of pumpkin seeds at the store I'm going to start this year that the two parents of that particular seed were both over 2,000 pounds. Yeah. So we'll see what happens with some of those. So it'll be really interesting to see what they grow. So information about the Giant Pumpkin Festival, and if you want to be part of the Giant Pumpkin Growers, and it's not just for adults who are crazy, insane, plant geeks.
Yeah.
It's for the kids as well too. They have some really great categories for the kids to grow in. And with the Pumpkin Growers Association and the Giant Pumpkin Commonwealth, which is all over the entire world, they have more categories than just giant pumpkins. They've got squash, and they've got like gourds, and so there's a whole bunch of different things that you can grow and try and break some of those records. It's really pretty cool what they do. They've got biggest tomato, they've got biggest watermelon, so it's not just for pumpkin.
All right, well, we are coming to you live from the Home and Garden Show at the Eccles Ice Arena. Again, this is at 2825 North, 200 East. Doors will be opening in just over 30 minutes. 9 o'clock this morning and will continue until 6 o'clock tonight. And as you make your way through the show, you'll definitely want to stop by the Anderson Seed and Garden booth, which I've noticed also. One of the things that's really cool this year that you've added, actually you've had these in the store for several years now, is the seed packets, where if you are wanting to get started in planting a garden or maybe a flower bed, you've put everything together in one simple packet.
Yes.
And so that someone can pick up that packet, take it home, put it in the soil, and they're ready to go.
So these are our seed collections, and we've had a lot of novice gardeners that have come in and wanted something that's kind of put together already. And we've got a lot of customers who are purchasing online. So they're going onto our website, and we've got these collections there, which makes it easy for them to pick out stuff for their salsa garden, or if they're just getting started, here's the basics, or if you want all organic, we've got that. But this year we put a new collection together, and it's our Feed a Family collection. And the Feed a Family for $45 gives you enough seed of all the staple vegetables that we offer to do a 2,500 to 3,000 square foot garden. And we've done the calculations on how much you can grow, and you're gonna end up with probably 1,500 to 2,000 pounds of produce from what
seed.
If your soil performs and if you take care of it and you feed it and you fertilize,
you can't just take the bag and dump
just
it
throw it out there and it's gonna produce. So
it does require a little.
It does take some work, yeah. And you can eat that all summer while your garden's producing, but it will produce excess that you can freeze and you can, or you can dry, or you can freeze dry and store it and then use it throughout the summer. So, if you buy 5 pounds of potatoes to go with the $45 worth of seeds, with that 5 pounds of potatoes, you're going to grow 50 to 70 pounds of potatoes. Yeah, so it's like going and buying a 50-pound bag of potatoes and put it in your cold storage. You're gonna be able to grow that, and the onions that you're gonna grow off of that, you're gonna get a 40-pound bag of onions. And so it's amazing how much produce will actually come off of a $45, $50 investment into some garden seeds and what it's going to produce. So our Feed a Family, not only does it have the seeds in there, but it also has a link on the package where you can just scan it with your phone, pull up the QR code. It'll take you to our website. It'll tell you about the package, the Feed a Family package, and it'll explain all the different vegetables and how much it will cover and how much it will produce basically out of your garden. And then we also have the planting guide there as well too. So it'll tell you exactly what to do to be successful with each one of those vegetables. And so that information is available all the time on our website. But the packets, whether it's the Feed a Family or whether it's our rainbow mix of vegetables, which is also really colorful and cool, they all have instructions on there on how to plant everything. And then with our flower packages, those are all wildflower kits. And so we've got a bee-friendly kit that's great for pollinators. I've got a butterfly and a hummingbird mix that attracts butterflies and hummingbirds into your garden. We've got a really hot, dry, drought-tolerant mix. We've got a shady mix. I've got an all-annual mix. And each one of those mixes, there's enough seed in there to cover 500 square feet. Also has instructions on how to plant, how to be successful once you plant those. And the wildflower mixes are super easy to plant. Now's a great time to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, really good time.
Yeah, with the soil moisture, what we've got right now, it is just prime condition to drop seeds in.
Yeah.
Now, we are live at the Home and Garden Show. Again, this will open at 9 o'clock this morning, and we can take your calls while we are here at the show. If you have a question for Mark, 753-5868 or 1-800-369-5868. As I was joking before we started the show, each afternoon I was heading home quick because looking at the forecast, it was looking like this weekend was going to be pretty rainy and then snowy. And so I thought, I need to get my fertilizer out and needed to finish up pruning my one fruit tree in the front yard that I hadn't got to yet. And it made me think, some people, they may not be used to fertilizing their lawn. They may be new to gardening. And there are definitely some things you want to do and you don't want to do when it comes to your lawn. And I'm thinking of one neighbor in particular who was a little bit more aggressive with his fertilizer than he should have. And he didn't have a lawn last year. He burned it so bad, and I felt so bad. But it is coming back this year.
It'll come back, yeah.
So I was walking by his neighborhood, his house this week. I thought, look, his lawn's coming back.
I've got a very good friend who did something similar, decided that the pre-emergent that he used in his flower beds worked so great that he would put it on his turf, and it actually kind of kills grass. And so it suppresses the grass in the flower beds and then stops all the weeds from coming up. But then he thought, it works really great in the flower beds. I'll put it on my lawn as well too. And then he did a little extra because, it's like, I'll go a little heavy this time. And it killed a whole section of his turf. And you can't reseed it.
No.
not for a little while.
Because it's not
Unfortunately,
going to do any
yeah.
good.
And so it took 6 months before we could reseed it. But you know what? It's kind of like what you mentioned at the first of the show. We're glad that he killed it off because we put a new variety of grass in there, and now it's like
now
the
it's
best.
much
That's the
better.
best part of his lawn now. Yeah, it's like the best looking part of his lawn, and so it's not always a disaster when those things happen, because sometimes what we replace it with is far superior
Yeah.
to what we had previously. But great time to put some humate on. So excellent time to put humate on. I love to get the humate on first and allow that to do its work, kind of jump starts the soil, gets the grass really awake and starting to grow. And then I'll drop my mower blade down really low to start the season off with. So I'll mow a little bit closer. Usually 2 or 3 weeks after I put the humate on, I can mow the lawn and get rid of all that debris and all that dead grass and stuff that's left over from last year. And it just reveals all the beautiful green turf underneath that's just like ready to go. And it's a great way to start. And then shortly after I put the humate on, then we'll throw our fertilizer on and
then put that on.
Yeah, and then
Okay.
get that going. And so we're moving into the first part of April, which is prime time for using a fertilizer with a pre-emergent in there also. And the pre-emergents for early spring are really going to focus on crabgrass and foxtail and goosegrass, and works on spurge and chickweed as well too. So we can target a lot of these weeds that germinate really early in the season. They're usually germinating around the first part of May. So you put that pre-emergent on the 1st of April, it's going to be working at peak effectiveness in May when those weeds all germinate, and it will last through the end of May, even into the middle part of June, and can kind of continue to stop those weeds from coming up. However, the crabgrass preventer pre-emergence, they don't really do anything for like, say, dandelions or morning
Clover.
glory, or clover. They're not really working on a lot of those broadleaf weeds. It helps suppress them a little bit, but it won't stop them completely. So we usually like to encourage our customers who have a lot of weeds that are showing up. Maybe they're using secondary water or irrigation water that's got a lot of weed seeds in there. There's some really great products that have a broadleaf pre-emergent in there instead. So the one that comes to mind is called Gallery. And the Gallery will stop dandelions and morning glory and thistles and clover and mallow and all those really hard to control broadleaf weeds, but it kills them as they germinate from seed. And so they're very, very effective to put on early season, prevents weeds from coming up, kills the weeds that are there already, and leaves your turf to thrive and to spread where there's no more weeds in there. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Well, we're already at the bottom of the hour. But if you have a question that you would like to give to Mark, we can take those as we will be right back as we're coming to you live on the Home and Garden Show. Again, this will start at 9 o'clock this morning, continue until 6. Tickets just $2 for adults. Kids 12 and under get in free. All sorts of events for the whole family. They can come down and enjoy the show. There's things for the kids. There's things for mom and dad to be able to check out. So we hope you join us for the show. And when you come down, make sure that you stop by the Anderson Seed and Garden booth, as they have the seed packets that we've been talking about. They've also got a great deal on their pansies right now for just $2. And so a lot going on here at the Eccles Ice Arena, starting all at 9 o'clock this morning. We're at 2825 North, 200 East, plenty of parking. And so we'll be coming back in just a minute as we are live from the Home and Garden Show here on the Garden Guide on KBNU.
Pine Hill Walter, KBNU News. City officials in Tremonton say they are struggling with the same thing many other towns and cities across the state are dealing with. Once vibrant historic downtown areas are the home to empty buildings and struggling businesses. Businesses there are for people in town but do not bring people into the city. The city just received a $405,000 Rural Community Opportunities Grant through Governor Cox's office to make its community more inviting. According to first-term Tremonton Mayor Lyle Holmgren, they wanted to use the grant to make some changes to Midland Square, but he said it's a touchy issue. They're trying to make Midland Square more usable and a catalyst for upgrading their downtown. He said they are not going to change or get rid of the Veterans Memorial. The Midland Hotel was located on Main Street at First West. At one time, the hotel was the pride of the community. It was built in 1914 and burned down in 1995. The fire took some other businesses around it. It was a great loss to the community. The ground where the hotel stood has since been turned into the Veterans Memorial. While rehearsals are underway for its mid-April main stage production of The Tempest by William Shakespeare, the Utah State Theater Arts Program will offer a play reading of Tiny Beautiful Things for local audiences. Adapted for the stage by Nia Verdalis, the play is based on the 2012 self-help book Tiny Beautiful Things by Cheryl Strayed. The adaptation will be read by USU Theater Arts students on Friday, March 29th and Saturday, March 30th at 7:30 p.m. in the intimate Black Box Theater. Showers in the forecast, rain, and then rain and snow on Sunday. For the latest news, visit CashValleyDaily.com.
From ABC Sports, I'm Mark Remillard. Down goes the final perfect bracket. There are 0 left, according to the NCAA's tournament bracket tracker. The last one standing fell following Utah State's 88-72 win over TCU. 2 5 seeds would also fall in the night's games. We start in the West region.
Zaviero, the rebound. The clock will run out. And for the first time in school history, Grand Canyon has an NCAA tournament win. The 12th-seeded Lopes knock off the 5-seed St. Mary's, and Grand Canyon is going to the second round.
The call, as heard on Westwood, won 75-66 Grand Canyon. The final, they'll move on to face 4th-seed Alabama. In Brooklyn, New York, the second number 5 would fall from the South region as 12-seed James Madison University shocked Wisconsin 72-61. After the game, JMU's head coach Mark Byington said it isn't time for celebration as they will face 4th-seed Duke in round 2.
It's hard to enjoy it, because there's something I'm always next. So how does it feel? I'm really not feeling a lot of emotion right now. My thing is I got to get back tonight, got a late night, get these guys ready for Duke.
9-seed Texas A&M also rolled past 8-seed Nebraska 98-83. Top seeds Houston and Purdue advanced to the second round. In the NBA, the Celtics made it 8 straight despite the absence of Jason Tatum, beating the Pistons 129-102. The Timberwolves over the Cavaliers 104-91. The Lakers down the 76ers 101-94. And the Pacers over the Warriors in the Bay 123-111. In the NHL, the Hurricanes visiting the Capitals. Sonny Milano and Sebastian Aho both had hat tricks for their teams, but the Caps got it done in a shootout, winning 7-6. I'm Mark Remillard, ABC Sports.
Everyone is coming down with spring fever. Get relief by saving big on all Goodyear tires. Buy a set of 4 select Goodyear tires like the Goodyear DuraTrack or Goodyear Assurance Max Life and you can save up to $319. So choose Discount Tire for the lowest tire prices anywhere. Plus get the best financing options around. Choose 12 months no interest, no credit check financing or layaway. Whatever your budget, Discount Tire and Automotive has the will and the way. Hurry, these tire savings end March 31st. You won't find a better deal online or at any other store. Make your tire and service reservations online 24/7 at webtires.net. That's the spring spectacular sale going on now at Discount Tire, 885 North Main in Logan, 110 South Highway 165 in Providence, and 728 South Main in Smithfield.
Discount Tire. So much more than a tire store.
The Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM at 102.1 FM.
And we welcome you back to the show as we are coming to you live from the Home and Garden Show in North Logan at the Eccles Ice Arena. And as I've been mentioning, the doors will open for the public 9 o'clock this morning and continue until 6 this afternoon. Many of the vendors are showing up now. And of course, we spent most of Thursday setting up for this show. The show was live yesterday and a lot of people just showing up now, getting things all freshened up to open the doors here coming up in about 20 minutes. So we can take your calls here, and as we are talking with Mark Anderson about your lawn, your garden, and all things outside. And so phone lines are open at 753-5868, 1-800-369-5868. And we'll start out this section of the show going right out to the phones. We have Todd joining us on the line from Logan. Todd, welcome to the show.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
Doing great this morning, Todd. How about you?
Doing great with an Aggie win last night. You guys can't complain, can you?
Exactly, that works.
Not at all.
Not at all. And hey, Mark, you know those flower beds? You know those flowers that we planted out in the front flower bed? You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I even have a picture of them.
You do? When did you come by?
I believe you sent it to me.
I'm just kidding. I think I need to start fertilizing those, correct?
Now would be a great time to put a slow release fertilizer on those, something that's not going to make them grow too much. So I would do something that's going to last, 4 to 6 months and just gradually feed them a little bit throughout the growing season. So that would be products like Start and Grow from Fertilome would be excellent. The ProGrow 365 would be awesome too, and that would be great for your shrubs and perennials that you planted. But I would also highly recommend you get a pre-emergent down, even though you've got bark and stuff in there to prevent weeds from coming up. A pre-emergent would really, really help so you don't have to weed all summer long. So perfect time to get pre-emergent like Surfland or Trefland down and prevent new weeds as you're fertilizing at the same time.
Okay, so that would probably that would weed through the bark, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So since you recently planted those, there's probably not too many weeds in there, maybe a few popping up here and there, but it's going to happen. And so if you get that pre-emergent down, it will work down through the bark, get into the soil, and as the seeds are germinating in the soil, it will kill those seeds before they get established, and you just won't have to weed hardly at all throughout the summertime. I know you like it when you don't have to go out and weed, so...
Of course. I know Will doesn't like the weeds either. So
absolutely. I personally kind of like to weed, so I like to get out in the garden and crawl around on my hands and knees and pull the weeds out. It's like in the carrots and everything else. There's just something satisfying about pulling those weeds out. And if you just do a little bit at a time, it doesn't become burdensome. But if you go out there and you do it on Saturday and spend 2 or 3 hours just pulling up weeds, then you got to turn around and do it again the next Saturday. That's work. We're trying to avoid that.
My problem is when I get down on my hands and knees, it's hard getting up.
You're not that old, Todd.
We all get to that point, that's for sure.
I'm just kidding. And should I just broadcast that with the back to the fertilizing and the food? Should I just broadcast that onto the bark?
So if you did like 1 gallon perennials last year, you're going to use like 1 tablespoon for each perennial. If you did like 5 gallon shrubs, you're going to do like 5 tablespoons for each shrub. But you could take a broadcast spreader and just broadcast it through there, or even do it by hand. You just don't want to overdo it. Even with those slow release fertilizers, you get too much on there, you can burn your plants a little bit. So you want to be a little bit careful that we get close to the right amount on each plant. And if you underdo it, then fertilizer doesn't really do a whole lot for you either. So
even with the crocus bulbs and the tulip bulbs and all of those.
Oh, it'd be great for those. Oh, it'd be great for those too. So now, like when your tulips and daffodils and stuff first start coming up, that's a really great time to fertilize those as well too. Because think about it, you threw a little fertilizer in there when you planted them, but that might have been a couple of years ago. Now they're coming up. They've used fertilizer. It's gone, and it's hard to fertilize in the fall because the bulbs are 6 inches below the surface, and so the best time to get them is like right now, just as they're starting to emerge. So great time for fertilizing bulbs that are more naturalized, and it's a really great time to fertilize your fruit trees if you've got fruit trees.
Okay, so the Start and Grow and or the 365.
They would be excellent because you put those on once, you won't have to fertilize for the rest of the year.
Okay, well I do appreciate the tips, Mark, and you too.
You're welcome.
Will, for on my side for not getting up weeding. So.
Yep, anytime. And what's your prediction for the game tomorrow?
Oh, well, Purdue's got that, 7-2 guy? What's his name?
Edie.
Well,
Edie. I think he had 31 points and 20 rebounds last night.
Oh, really? Well, if we can play like we did last night, we're unstoppable, I guess. But I'll tell you I'll tell you today at the show when I see you. So.
All right, that sounds good. Sounds good. Come on out to the show. We'll be ready for you, Todd.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.
That frees up the phone line at 753-5868, or you can also call in at 1-800-369-5868. That's 753-KVNU. And we can take more of your calls, still have 15 minutes in the show. Speaking of fertilizers, and one mix that our family has just had so much success with, and every year I'm finding myself just going back to it, is Fertilooms. They have both a rose, a plant fertilizer that you can use on our flower beds and on our roses, but then they have a fruit tree fertilizer mix that is just, I haven't found anything to compare with.
Oh, it's really good.
You just throw that out, and like I mentioned, we planted 2 new trees, and so we put that down this weekend, and then the rest of them, we have a couple apple trees that have been in for about 12 years now, and you just broadcast that below the trees, and just over the next several storms, that'll just soak down into the soil. And the production that we've had on our fruit trees over the last couple of years with that fertilizer compared to other fertilizers we've used in the past is just hands down.
Oh, that's
nothing
great.
to compare with.
That's great. And this is, again, like I told Todd, excellent time to fertilize your fruit trees. And I've been so busy, I haven't been able to do it, but I'm hoping this week to get the fertilizer out there, and also that pre-emergent like Cazeron, because I put the Cazeron out in my orchard, and I just don't have to worry about weeds for the rest of the year. So if I get that good application of the Cazeron down, and it works in the raspberries, and it works in blackberries and in roses, but anything that's got bark on it, any woody plants, it won't hurt cane plants like grapes or raspberries or roses, but it kills basically everything else. And it kills morning glory, and it kills grass, and it just takes out all those weeds. If I can get that down right now before things really get started, it just takes out all those weeds, and it lasts for 6 months. So we're talking April, May, June, July, August, September. You just don't have to do anything. And by October, November, it's like there's no weeds coming up anyway. And it just saves so much work and so much time. And if you put your fertilizer down at the same time, then you're like good for the whole year. You've fertilized your plants, tried to help keep them really healthy, kept all the weeds down. Then all you have to do is just set up your drip system and turn that on once every 10 days or 2 weeks and let it do its thing.
Yeah.
And it saves so much work, and the plants are healthier. They produce better. You don't have the weeds. Makes it super easy.
One of the things that we found is that with raspberries, and we also have a asparagus garden, and those are very difficult because you can't exactly get into it and start ripping up the soil.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to destroy the root system.
Damage your asparagus. Yeah, we don't want to do that.
And so just taking a mixture of fertilizer with some compost, laying that out on top of it, and then letting that soak down into the soil, just really makes a big difference.
It does. It really does. And with the asparagus, I was talking to Todd about pre-emergent. So if we're using like Treflan for a pre-emergent, it works great in asparagus. So it won't hurt the asparagus since it's an established root system. It just won't bother your asparagus at all. But it'll stop all those weeds from coming up in your asparagus. And since it does kind of suppress grass as well, it stops the grass from coming up also. So Treflan in your asparagus patch, in your strawberries, in your flowers and perennials, that's going to just save so much time and so much work. But if perchance you have a little bit more grass coming up than your pre-emergent's going to control, we can use the grass killer as well too. So I think a lot of homeowners forget that there's a product out there that will just kill grass and will leave all the other plants. So we can spray in the raspberries or in the perennials, or we can even spray our iris and our daylilies that kind of look like grasses but aren't, and it'll kill the grass and prevent and stop all the grass that's coming up in those plants. It's so hard to extract the grass once it really gets into the raspberries and into the perennials and the ground covers, and this will just selectively kill the grass without damaging all the other stuff. So.
All right. Well, we have some more callers who have been waiting. Let's go back out to the phone lines as we have Brenda joining us on the line from North Logan. Brenda, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I know you've answered this question before, but would you please, 2 things. One is, what do you do to prevent deer from eating your tulips? And second thing is, how do you apply this pre-emergence? Do you sprinkle it on each plant, or do you put it on the whole flower bed?
That is a great question, Brenda. Let's do the pre-emergent first, since we were just talking about that. So the Treflan comes in a granule and also in a liquid. And the great thing about the liquid is it won't affect plants that are there already in the granule the same way, but it will kill seeds as they germinate. So as those seed casings pop open and the little root starts to come out to get that weed established, it'll kill that seed so it doesn't establish. So the plant doesn't get established, and then you don't have a weed there. And you would apply that to all the bare ground around your plants. And so you can either spray it on, and if you get some on the plants, it won't bother them. But you can spray it. The spray lasts longer than the granule, or you can just broadcast it out into those flower beds or perennial areas, and then it gets down into the soil and kind of creates a barrier there so that anytime those seeds germinate in the soil, it will kill those seeds, but it won't bother the plants that are around it. So it's very effective that way.
Are there different types or brands of pre-emergence? What do you recommend?
There are a lot of different ones out there. Treflan is one of the most common varieties, and it's also known as preen, but the preen only comes in a granule form. The Treflan, the liquid form, is the most effective because it will last 4 to 6 months with one application, so you can almost get the whole season out of it, where the granule only lasts like 6 weeks, and so you have to reapply it multiple times. So I prefer the liquid. It's really easy to get in there and spray around the plants just on the soil, and super effective. And the liquid, you can actually mix it with, like, say, Kills All or Decimate, and you can kill stuff while you're at it as well too. So I'll use it around my shrubs, and I'll take a big piece of cardboard and just kind of push it up next to my shrubs, and I can spray up to the cardboard. And if that herbicide doesn't get on the shrubs, it won't hurt those, but it kills all the weeds that are growing up underneath, and then the pre-emergent prevents new ones from coming up. So you can mix different herbicides together to make it more effective. You just have to be careful not to spray your plants you don't want to kill that way. But if you use the pre-emergent by itself, it won't bother any of those surrounding plants, even if you get it on them at all. So and then
is the liquid called Treflan also?
The one that we carry is made by Monterey, and it is called Vegetable and Ornamental Weeder, and the active ingredient in there is Treflan.
But it's a liquid.
Now the other question.
Sorry,
I think she was asking if it was a liquid.
That's the liquid. Yeah, that's the liquid. The granule, we have it from High Yield, and it is called herbicide granules. So it's Treflan herbicide granules, and super easy to apply.
Okay. And what about the deer?
And I was going to say your most difficult question. The most
Yeah.
difficult question you've asked
That's a
today.
tough one.
The deer. I have a herd in my yard like every day. In fact, I went home last night after the Home and Garden show, and sure enough, there they were hanging out, having a little snack at Mark's house. And so I've got tulips in front of my house that we planted last fall that I've got a little fencing around. And for me, the fencing works the best because it's just easy for me to set that up, and I can just keep the deer out of there. The deer stopper repellent that we've got works really, really well. It lasts about 4 weeks. It's waterproof, rainproof, snowproof. It won't be affected by weather that way, but it will deter the deer from nibbling on the plants, makes them so that they don't taste very good. With tulips, you just have to apply it more frequently than once a month because the new growth will be unprotected. So you have to spray a little bit more frequently to keep the deer off of that. But I was going to say, like, a little bit of chicken wire works great. They don't like the galvanized metal, so galvanized steel, they'll stay away. So kind of lay chicken wire around your flower beds. They won't step on it. They don't like stepping on it because it moves. It kind of startles them. And the smell, they don't like the smell as well too. So chicken wire works great. Some nylon fencing or netting would be really helpful. And repellents like the deer stopper actually work really quite well.
Is that the name of it? It's called deer stopper?
It's called deer stopper. It comes in a red bottle. It comes concentrated and ready to use in a liquid. And it is durable enough that if it rains, if it snows, it won't wash it off. But it lasts usually about 3 to 4 weeks.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
You're so welcome, Brenda. Thanks for calling this morning.
one thing to clarify, this pre-emergence that you spray on, we have a big flower bed out front. It won't hurt my hydrangea or my anything, roses or anything like
Not
that?
a bit. Not a bit. Works great with hydrangeas. No problem there. The only thing it can damage that's existing already is it can damage grass a little bit. So don't spray it in your turf. But around flowers and around a lot of vegetables and edibles, you can use that product without any problem. So very effective.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Brenda.
Good luck with the deer, Brenda. We can feel your pain.
Yes.
We know that. Let's see. We've got about 5 more minutes, and so I think we can squeeze one more call in. Charles is joining us on the line from Hyde Park. Charles, welcome to the show.
Good morning. I have some sweet potato plants I brought in last fall, and some of them were in hanging baskets, and I put them in my house, and I guess I should have sprayed them before I brought them in, because now I have leaves that look like seersucker. Remember the old seersucker, pebbly-looking leaves? They're dropping off. And I have kind of a yellowish powder that's on the soil, and these little tiny I can't call them flies, but little tiny insects that are flying around, and I tried a couple of things on it, and nothing seems to affect it. Is there anything I can spray on inside plants? I hope to replant them outside, but they're looking pretty rough. They're probably going to wind up in a dumpster if I don't do something.
Sounds like you've got fungus gnats, and the fungus gnats, the larva will actually nibble on the root system too, so they can do some damage underneath the soil as well as being a nuisance on top of the soil. And then you may have a little bit of a disease in there. The triple action insecticide from Fertilome has an insecticide and a disease control in there that's effective on many diseases, not all, but it should work quite well on your fungus gnats, and also help with the mold that's probably starting to show up there as well too. The fungus gnats can be a little bit difficult, so sometimes we'll recommend you put some traps out. There's yellow sticky traps that they're attracted to. They'll land on it and they get stuck. They can't get off, and so using a combination of the sticky traps and the spray together, and I'd spray like every 5 to 6 days for probably 2 or 3 weeks to get them under control. Spray the soil as well as the plants, and then install some sticky traps as well too. It'll catch more of the adults, so you don't have them laying more eggs as well too. And the triple action's organic. It's totally safe to use inside. Very effective, but is going to do a good job and still be safe for you.
Great. Do you have that at the store?
I sure do.
Okay, because currently I have 5 plants, but I hate killing perfectly good plants due to my neglect.
If we could select them a little bit, that would be great. And now's a good time to start feeding them a little bit to get some new growth. And if you've got some new growth coming out, that's fine. We can lose all those old leaves, and the new growth will take its place, and you'll have some nice plants to transplant out here in a month and a half.
Well, thank you so much. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Anytime, Charles. You have a wonderful weekend.
I will.
All right, we've got minute left, and let's see, we've got one more call. Gordon is joining us on the line. Gordon?
Gonna have to be quick.
You actually may have.
Maybe we lost him.
Well, no problem, because let's just wrap up here. We've got just a minute left, and we can talk a little bit about the show. Again, we are at the Home and Garden Show in North Logan. This is at the Eccles Ice Arena. We hope you come out and join us. The doors are going to be opening up here in just a minute. The vendors are all set up here in the Ice Arena. It is a sold-out show. Every possible space has been sold here. And so if you are looking for all things for your lawn, for your garden, for your home, you're going to find it here at the show. It continues until 6 o'clock. We were mentioning tickets are just $2 for adults. Kids 12 and under can get in free. And when you stop by at the show today, make sure you come over here to the Anderson Seed and Garden booth, where you've got great deals on seed packets, Mark. The pansies we were talking about.
Pansies are on sale. Yeah, we've got a couple giveaways that we're doing. We're giving away a little mini greenhouse. You can come and sign up for that. We're giving away a pruner set. And we've got our pumpkin jar full of pumpkin seeds. You get to guess how many seeds are in there, and whoever gets closest will win dinner at Cafe Sabor. and dessert at the Bluebird as well too. So a lot of fun things happening here at the Home and Garden Show. We had a great turnout yesterday. Lots of people were here, got to visit with tons of gardeners and homeowners that had all kinds of questions. Yeah. And it's just a fun time to be out here and see people and visit and have a good time. And of course, our booth smells amazing and the flowers look